off in this little section of their brain. Watch that episode and think of social consciousness. That that little lesion, that little prison for the brain, for the consciousness of the AI doll, locking it from accessing the rest of its self, is exactly what social consciousness does, and what a social crediting system does, and what taking the individual and dominating it with mass mindedness and statistical thinking does. It eliminates the individual human being. The alphabet, esoteric structure of the alphabet, of the ox. Aleph. This is by Alvin Boyd Kuhn. The modern world is awakening slowly to the fact that in the day we call ancient, though it was but a few thousand The modern world is awakening slowly to the fact that in the day we call ancient, though it was but a few thousand years ago in the run of millions, advanced men, fully worthy of the name of sages, were deeply versed in the profundities of recondite philosophy and possessed knowledge of things both human and divine, and well comprehended the great sciences of both cosmology and anthropology. Evident it is that the men of this caliber indited the great scriptures of ancient religions, which have won and held the reverence of mankind so generally that they have been made the unique objects of religious veneration and the canons of spiritual authority for most of the world over long ages. Indeed, the homage paid them has been of the character of worship offered to something regarded as divine. The tradition has prevailed that the Bible authors were in truth men of a divine or semi-divine order, or at least men inspired by a divine afflatus, who transmit to mankind the heavenly dictation of sacred truth. A study of ancient literature, growing more enlightened as it is pursued, is revealing the presence of a definitely formulated and high organic truth structure, constituted of the essential elements of a great logical systemization of fundamental archaic, as the Greek word has it, or principles of a cosmic order of being expressed in many varied forms of representation everywhere over the field of ancient culture. Primarily, of course, the great wisdom was embodied in tomes of a vast body of literature, a literature so cryptically recondite that its esoteric purport has almost completely eluded the most erudite lucubrations of world scholarship from the ancient day to the present. Indeed, it has been the perversions and misinterpretations of that ancient corpus of wisdom that have afflicted the religious consciousness of the world, particularly in the West, with an intellectual befuddlement that approaches the status of a universal dementia for some 2 millennia. Not only in the scripts of religion, however, but also in a wide variety of other modes of expression was the wisdom tradition, embodied and transmitted. It is found, but always in subtle forms of crypticism, a feature that has bewildered and befogged all later conclusions. How do I turn the page here? Hold on, help me to figure this out here. Oh, crap. It has a lot of Alvin Boyd Kuhn's work here. The Lost Light. I don't know how to turn the page on this. Oh, there we go. You just... All right, wow. This is https archive.org details the esoteric structure of the alphabet. Let's go to the sentence I was just doing. God. That's a long sentence. Not only in the scripts of religion, however, but also in a wide variety of other modes of expression was the wisdom tradition embodied and transmitted. It is found, but always in subtle forms of crypticism, a feature that has bewildered and befogged all later conclusions of investigators in ancient art, in architecture, in myth-making, secret society ritual, dramatic scenario, music, mathematics, anthropological science, logic, rhetoric, philosophy, astronomy, semantics, psychology, festival ordinances, social ceremonies, and throughout the warp and woof of life generally. Now perhaps strangest of all the channels through which it was given expression comes the momentous revelation that the sagacious genius of antiquity had even insinuated a form of its basic outline. It was given expression comes the momentous revelation that the sagacious genius of antiquity had even insinuated a form of its basic outline into the very structure of that ground base of all literature, the alphabet. The announcement and elucidation of its presence in this, the fundamental semantic code for the transmission of human thought, should rank as an epochal event in the history of world culture. Ancient sagacity viewed high spiritual culture in a different light from that in which it is envisaged today. While modern intelligence aims to disseminate its blessings over the widest popular area, hoping that it may edify the mass body of people generally, the sages of old acted upon a different estimate of the possibilities in this case. They appraised the cultural potential of the vulgar masses as practically nil, and therefore deemed it a sacrilege to cast the precious jewels of esoteric truth and knowledge to the swine that would trample them in the mire of unconscionable crudity of misunderstanding. It may be said that the history of religious cultism over many centuries has demonstrated the practical wisdom of this conservatism. The perversion, corruption, materialization, and literalization of the lofty mystical sense of ancient cryptic literature has caused perhaps the most colossal debacle in the culture of spiritual values in the course of known history. Its easily discernible evil fruitage has been the positive derationalization of the Occidental mind as regards all things religious, theological, and scriptural. It has deprived that mind of the cardinal advantage of knowing the sublime meaning of the splendid Jewish Christian scriptures, which are a collection of ancient mythographic portrayals of spiritual truth, sadly and calamitously mistaken for history. Not only were the sages constrained to adopt methods of crypticism of varied forms to safeguard precious cosmic and anthropogenic truth from desecration by the rabble, but they employed a technique which found its basic authentication in nature itself. As the world below is a mundane reflection and copy of an overshadowing world of spiritual truth, they strove to portray the structural forms of that higher truth by representing it under the forms of its counterparts everywhere existent in the natural world. Even supposed history was oriented into the form of archetypal ideologies, but everywhere in drama, ritual, choral dance, festival, institution and in language, the astute formulators aims to incorporate their figures of fundamental archai, a great structure compounded of the elements of the cosmic logic of creation, was inwrought into the pattern of all these modes of human cultural expression. Finally, if not perhaps initially, its structural design was woven into the formation of the alphabet. If this cryptic organic form was the structural principle determining the arrangement of the alphabet, it must be seen to have made its significance definitely basic in all literature. For thus the words themselves, carrying the elements of the original letter components, would constantly represent the forms of the archaic thought which as symbols they portrayed, so that in reconstructing the hidden outlines of meaning form in the alphabet, we are piercing to the heart's core of the most recondite connotations of all literature. It is a commonplace of present educational theory to say that letters of the alphabet are symbolic representations of the sounds universally possible to the human vocal organs. It is hardly as generally known that in shape they are more than mere algebraic X's or sheer onomatopoetic imitations. They are in fact evident forms shaped to picture basic ideas. They are true ideograms. The capital letter A, for instance, is obviously the cardinal letter 1, the symbol of primordial unity. Since the symbol of primordial unity, the letter A, the 1, since it is also the number 1, the I, split apart from the top into the creative duality of spirit and matter. The top, the unity, spirit and matter. Psyche and soma. Mind and body. Apple and mud. The crossbar indicating the interrelation, this would be the interrelation, the crossbar, cross or horizontal line of Horus, of the H. The crossbar indicating the interrelation which dynamically subsists between them, spirit and matter. The U or V symbolizes, exactly as it is drawn, the descent of spirit into matter and its return above. So you turn it upside down, it's the V, the descent into matter and its return. Above. The W pluralizes it, the V, the U, double V, W, and we find, not strangely, the W to be the letter that pluralizes words, the double U, double V, to be the letter that pluralizes words in the Egyptian hieroglyphs, and it's letter 23. M. 13. The O readily symbolizes the endlessness of matter and of eternity, so that the Gnostics, when they named the unit of deity in the cosmos, the I-A-O, had condensed in the triadic name a sermonet in full, signifying the initial bifurcation of the first unit divine consciousness, the I, apart into the duality A, and returning the round of an eternal cycle O. And so even Revelation has it. I am the A and the O, the beginning and the end, the first and the last, I-A-O. The almost breathtaking significance of the M, when the Spirit says, I am, will be introduced later. Later. Terra. It is possibly true that literation started with the utilization of the two simplest elements of written symbolism, the vertical line I and the circle O. At any rate, it is to be shown here that nearly all divine names in antiquity were built up from and upon these two, for the Egyptians of remote past time had combined the two in the form of what is almost certainly the most ancient of cross symbols, the crux ansata, unsated cross, called by them the ANKH, one of which I am wearing on this here necklace. Necklace. I'm not necklace. See, look, I have a neck that connects. I swear. This is what he's going into now. More recently spelled ENKH, and O topping with an I, with the horizontal line at the point of contact. It represents by the O above, there's the O on the top, the endless existence of that which is the indestructible primordial matter, the eternal mother of all things, and by the I below, it indicates the emanation of creative mind or spirit power from the heart of the great sea of first matter plunging downward. Going from O to I, from spirit to matter. The horizontal bar shows both, there's the horizontal bar, shows of Horus, shows both their conjunction and their separation, as that they're both their conjunction and separation. They're joining and they're dividing, as does any boundary line between two areas. But the median line is important also because it marks the meeting point between the two poles of spirit and matter, since it is at this point that all reality is brought out to manifestation through the union of the two. The Ankh is the astrological symbol. This is the Ankh. Ankh is this astrological symbol. Sanctuary. The two symbols with which literate symbolism begins are thus the I and the O. The two symbols with which literate symbolism begins are thus the I and the O. The item of their gender comes first to notice. The I is masculine, as standing for the Father's power of generation, which is spirit. The O is the eternal feminine, matter, the mother. Personalized in ancient religions by such goddesses as Isis, Sebel, Malita, Adita, Venus, Juno, and others. The appropriateness of this symbolism from the subsidiary phallic side needs no accentuation. Nevertheless, is very important and indeed very wonderful. The author has fully dealt with it in his larger work, Sex as Symbol. Section. That's the etymology of sex. I tried right in with section and Essex and Saxon. As all progenation of life can come only through the union of male and female elements of the cosmic duality, a symbol that would dramatize life would have to combine the I and the O. It would have to. This, the I and the O. That's what this is. The Ankh. A-N-K-H. What's that gematria? A is 1, plus 14, N 15, plus K 11 is 26, plus H 8 is 34. 7. Ankh is 3, 4, 7. Of course it would be 7, right? S even of Eve. As all progeneration of life can come only through the union of male and female elements of the cosmic duality, a symbol that would dramatize life would have to combine both the I and the O, the I the masculine and the O the feminine. This the Egyptians did in their great Ankh, Ankh symbol, which thus is their written word for life, and this is life, and carries also the connotation of two other elements entering into life, or necessary for life, namely love and tie. T-I-E. Even more than the IAO, it condenses in its 3 renderings the gist of a mighty sermon, and becomes the hieroglyph of both the structure and the meaning of life. Rendered in one sentence, the symbol means life because life can exist only where 2 things, spirit, the I, and matter, O, are tied together by a sufficiently cohesive power, love. Love ties the 2 together to procreate life. The Ankh is therefore the first and greatest symbol in the world, which should make us aware that the cross is the first and greatest symbol because it is the symbol of life and not of death. The ancients said, however, that the soul, when incarnated in the body on earth, was in its spiritual death, and therefore the cross became the emblem of death, but soul death, not body death. A death viewed wrongly by all theology since the days of ancient mystery teaching, since the reference is to the dead condition of the soul when immersed in body, and not to the demise of the physical body. Even in this view, it equally connoted life, for it was the soul's relative death that gave life to the creature, whose bodily demise in turn liberated it for its freer life above. Detaching the 2 emblems from each other as they are united in the Ankh symbol and combining them in lateral juxtaposition, we have the first divine word and name in all literature, Io. That it figures with equally fundamental significance in ancient typological numerology is evident from the fact that the 2, now converted into numbers, constitute the cardinal base of all mathematics, the number 10. Modern study seems not to have recognized this close connection, amounting almost to identity. So modern study seems not to have recognized this close connection, amounting almost to identity between the letters of the alphabet as originally devised and the numbers. Numbers were indicated by letters. Each letter carried a number value, hence words were composed of those alphabetical units that would together express an idea, a mental value, but as well a numerical value. As far as the scriptures are concerned, even whole sentences are constructed to total a number quantity. As Pythagoras has said, God geometrized in creating the world. He built the universe on number. Such esoteric work as the Zohar of ancient Jewish Kabbalistic literature reveal clearly also that the deity formed the creation by means of the letters of the alphabet. This can have sense only on the predication that, as according to the scriptures, he spake and the words formed themselves in order under the vibratory impact of the letter tones of his voice. Every letter sound of the creative reverberation became a constituent element in the cosmic framework. Every letter expressed, or in fact constituted, a principle or a fundamental part of the universal structure. Perhaps this is one of the greatest keys to our recovery of the cryptic purport of ancient writing. The archaic I-O, or 10, then would be charged with the potency of the first projection of the creative thought force, but only in its first partition into duality, not in its later and further subdivision. In its expression as the prime triplicity, it was the IAO, which became IAH and JAH, Jah. Aya and Jah, and its still further differentiation toward endless multiplicity at the quaternary stage brought it to the form of the great tetragrammaton, the Kabbalistic JHVH. In its full seven-letter expression, it became, on the side of matter alone, the seven-voweled name, composed of the seven primary vowel sounds made by the human voice. The Greek alphabet still retains seven vowels: a short E, long E, I, short O, long O, and U. This was to express the fact that every cycle of creation runs through seven sub-cycles, each of which sounds out the reverberation of one of the seven successive component forms. The potent symbol, typifying primogenital creative energy of mind and matter, combined in the relation of polarity, being the power that dominates all things as it was their creator, became the figure of all combined mental and material ruling power everywhere, as all lesser ruling units were themselves but projected partial rays of the power itself. It was therefore the first king in the cosmic realm, as every divided segment of it was king in the tinier realm over which it exercised sovereignty. How notable this will appear when we shall see in a moment that the very word king derives from the Ankh name. Nothing has been more revealing than the list of words in English, Greek, German, Hebrew, which can be traced to the old Egyptian name of this mighty symbol. Its central idea, it was noted, is the production of life through the tying or union of spirit and matter. The central clue to the meaning of all these derivatives is the idea of tying two things together. It must be elucidated in the building words upon the ANKH stem. The H may be virtually dropped out of consideration, as KH is equally well expressed by K alone. But KH is also equivalent to CH, which often replaces it. The vowel A is of inconsequential value and can also be dropped. So there is here the bare NK left. I couldn't see if that was a B or I was trying to. Looks like a typo. So there is the bare NK left as the hard root. N and K. 14 and 11, 25, 7. The next matter to be noted in later philosophical usage, it was immaterial whether it was written NK or KN. And in Greek, the NK KN became NG, GN, a significant item. With these specifications, it is possible now to discern a whole new world of meaning in many common words never dreamed to have come down from so divine a lineage, or a line-age. It is seen first in such words as anchor, A-N-C-H-O-R, that which ties a boat to a fixed place. And look at an anchor and the ankh together, and you will see they are the same. The anchor. That which ties a boat to a fixed place. And then you have knit, knot, with a silent K, link, gnarled, gnaw, gnash, accounting for the odd spelling. Ankylosis, a growing together of two bones, as in ankylosing spondylitis, ankylosing. Anger, anguish, anxiety, a tightening up of feelings. But most interestingly, it seems to have given name to at least 4 joints, or hinge joints, or hinge points. Hinge itself seems to be another in the human body. Ankle, knee, neck, and knuckles. Lung, as being the place where outside air unites with inner blood, could perhaps be added. Far away in our English, join appears to be from a source in ankh, N being the only letter common to both. It is certainly directly from it after all, for ankh was the root of the Latin jungo, to join, jungo, to join, NK becoming NG through the Greek, ga and ka. From this we get junction, adjunct, juncture, conjunction, from the Latin past participle form of jungo, junctus. But in coming into English through the French, all these words were smoothed down to join, joint, and this carried so far into English as to give us finally union, which is really junction in its primal form. With even the N dropping out, we have yoke, Y-O-K-E, that which ties 2 oxen together. And in Sanskrit it comes out as yoga, which in reality stands for yanka, meaning union. The English present participle ending ing, -ing, join ing, ang, as well as the prefix con, meaning with or together, likely comes from the ankh. For the ing connotes a continuing of things moving on together. Therefore, all 3 parts of the word connecting, would be from the ancient word. Our most common word, thing, likewise comes from ankh, as a thing, ang, ink, is that which is created by the union of spirit and matter, a divine conception and atomic substance. Next comes the one that carries an impressive significance in the study, the common verb to know, K-N-O-W, in Greek nosko, German kennen, English ken. What constitutes the knowing act? The joining together of two things, the consciousness of an object of consciousness and an object of consciousness. For there must be something apart from consciousness to be known. So Greeks called knowledge the gnosis, the Greek verb meaning to be, gignome, also has the gn as token that existence is the result of the anking together of spirit and matter. But a most surprising Hebrew derivation from ankh is the first personal pronoun I. It is in fact the ankh itself, unchanged except for the inconsequential insertion of two minor vowels, O and I, making it Anok, Anoki, Anoki. This is amazingly significant since it reveals the identity of the innermost soul being of man, the I, ego, with the primal cosmic mind. The consciousness in man which enables him to think and say I is indeed a unit element of that same cosmic mind. In the I consciousness of a creature, the central creative mind energy of the universe is nucleated in unity. And as the ruler of life in every domain, it is in that function and capacity the king of life. King. That power which knows things is verily creation's king. And also then it must be the power that thinks. Gerald Massey, the great scholar of ancient occult knowledge, connects in kindred significance think and thing, a thing being that which has been thought by some mind. The I, as the king of consciousness, both thinks and knows. The German has for king König, the one who can. König, the one who can, which in German is können, and the one who knows what is best. And what has the Greek for king, astonishingly, anax, which is equivalent to the spelling anax. The Greek for messenger, one who ties the sender with the recipient of a message, is angelos, from which is our angel, and messenger itself is the ng in it. Where two lines meet, we have an angle. A nook suggests something in the ankh meaning. Perhaps hundreds more words might be traced from this venerable but most significant origin in the ankh, the ankh. And the words themselves help us reestablish the fundamental elements in the composition and structure of the great ancient knowledge so well called the gnosis. The letter I as the spiritual masculine first half of the great Io symbol must be examined more closely. It is in the alphabet and in language the symbol of the divine mind principle. It is the king of all being, knowing, determining, ordering, acting, and so it has been made the 10th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, the king number, both 1 and 10, or any multiple thereof, and therefore has for its meaning the word God itself. Its Hebrew name is Yod, Y-O-D-H, and means the hand of God. Its hieroglyphic representation is that of a tongue of candle flame, bent as it would be momentarily if blown upon by a gentle puff of the breath. This is to indicate the breathing of God upon the latent creative fires of atomic energy to blow them up to creative heat. It is suggested in Genesis when it is said that God brooded over the great deep. Water is the symbol of matter, as matter in the cosmos and water on the earth are the common universal mothers of life, and matter contains the latent atomic fire which creates all. God blows upon this latent fire to inflame it for creative work. This is indicated in the bent candle flame of the Yod. The Hebrew Yod. 10 is esoterically called the perfect number. In the highest possible sense, it is the number that rounds out or perfects a cycle of creation, and it does this through the interrelation of the eternal upper triad of noumenal creative forces, cosmic spirit and soul mind, with the septenate of lower physical energies as anciently represented in the great system of Egyptian Gnosis, and faithfully reproduced in the 10 holy Sephiroth of the early Jewish Kabbalah. The Yod then stands for that divine creative fire that in its deployment as a decanate of powers forges the worlds into the shape prefigured in the divine mind. The triple aspected cosmic noumenon designs the blueprint of the creation to be, and the 7 hierarchical energies carry them out in the world of concreteness. If one reflects on the remarkable physical phenomenon of a ray of white light passing through a triadic glass prism and casting the refracted rays upon a screen in the 7 colors of the spectrum, one will have an instructive analog of the number basis of the creation. Revelation symbolism evidently represents it as the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns, the 3 horns in excess of the number of heads, being, presumably, in the invisible noumenal worlds, the heavens of pure thought. Concomitant with the I-O primacy in symbolism, or 10, runs a variant representation which depicts successive stages in the creative process. It begins with the symbol of inchoate matter, the O, as representing primordial, inorganic homogeneity, or the unity and eternity of life in its unmanifest state. It, in fact, typifies what to us stands as empty space. It is empty to us as successive stages in the creative process. It begins with the symbol of inchoate matter, the O, as representing primordial inorganic homogeneity, or the unity and eternity of life in its unmanifest state. It in fact typifies what to us stands as empty space. It is empty to us as exhibiting absolutely nothing in visible, palpable form. The world was without form and void. But to the cosmic consciousness, it is doubtless not empty, since it is filled with substance, apperceptible to that consciousness. What it seems to us is best depicted by the empty circle. The next stage shows the circle with the visible point in the center. This design indicates the emergence of the first organic entification out of unmanifest being. The next stage shows the circle with the visible point in the center of the design. This design indicates the emergence of the first organic entification, first entity out of unmanifest being. The third depiction shows the circle cut horizontally into two halves, upper and lower, by the median diameter line. This diagram shows the bifurcation of the organic unity into creative duality and the polarization of its two self-contained opposite natures, a prerequisite for any creation of visible organic worlds. That's first the dot, and then the line of bifurcation.